Welcome to Bandit's Keep. I'm Daniel. So, I'm feeling pretty good this week because a player in my game said something that I thought was an amazing compliment, and it made me really think about how I run the game. And yeah, so basically they said, what I really like about this campaign is that it's about building relationships and connections and not about McGuffins. And I thought, yeah, it is actually about that. And it made me feel good because that's something that it was kind of in the background, right? I don't really think about what I'm doing in the game. I'm playing the world, right? And the player characters play their characters. And the world is the people, right? The world isn't the MacGuffin. And because I don't run a linear style adventure where it's like go from here to here and save the world, what's important and what becomes valuable to the player characters is generally the relationships they make. And it's funny because that's kind of like life, right? What we learn, what we engage with, who we befriend, who we make enemies is important. And when we make actions in the game or in life and we screw people over or help them out when we didn't have to or go into it neutrally, that will affect how the relationship moves on, if it does at all. And this comes down from the simplest person that you meet on, when you go in to get your coffee in the morning, that person that helps you, you see them every day and they get your coffee, maybe you don't even know their name, they don't really know your name, but you kind of recognize, all the ways to your boss or some client that you might have. This is the truth about life. And I think it was really great because it made me realize that we can, on some level in these games, capture what is the essence, if you will, of life, but supercharged, right? Because of course, in life, I am not a high-level adventurer. I'm not even a low-level adventurer, right? And I can't do the awesome things. And you can't save everyone. Not that you can in the game necessarily, but you can certainly try. There's not like these easy solutions in life, but there is in the game. But that doesn't mean the game has to be superficial. The game can still be deep and about connections and about friendships. And I've mentioned this before in videos, how things will happen where the player characters will interact with somebody and then something will happen to them. And of course, a lot of people will give advice that that's how you get the players to do stuff. I don't necessarily do it purposefully, but something will happen and they will go out of their way to help somebody or to help beat them down if it's a bad person, because of relationships that they've had. Not just because, oh, well, this is the plot in the game and this is what I'm following and I'm supposed to hate this bad guy. So I guess I've talked about this before when I've seen some advice that I don't think is very good, where you're told like to kind of lie, if you will. I hate to say it like that. I feel like I'm being very negative, but to the player characters, I think the exact situation was the DM plotted with one of the players and said, you're going to make two characters. Make one, pretend like it's the character you want to play. And in the first session, we're going to have a guy come in and just kill them. And that's going to make the player characters hate that guy. You're going to have to pretend to roll a new character. And then that's going to get it going because they will hate the bad guy. And to me, that's just so superficial and fake because that kind of thing can happen. But for it to be real, to feel real, like if I was in that campaign and then I found out that happened, I would be completely turned off by it. I'm not even in the campaign and I'm turned off by it. And it's funny because my very first campaign coming back, my first campaign I ran for about 3 years, it was in 5e, something like that kind of did happen, but it was very natural how it happened. Effectively, the player characters had a couple of minor magic items because I was giving them out like candy, because as you do, and they were captured and not killed by this, which is, almost sometimes more insulting, right? By this evil paladin. And the paladin took one of the player characters had a bag of tricks, which is basically like this little magic item that you can like pull out these little fur balls and they turn into like lions and stuff. I mean, at low levels, it's a pretty powerful magic item. At high levels, it's basically a toy, right? But they took it. And that bag of tricks became that like, I want my $2.
I want my $2!
Oh my God. for the whole campaign. And it actually established that guy as a major bad guy. And the reality is that was just a random person I had created for an adventure that I created because the player characters were going to this area. It was just a guy that I rolled up, and I was like, all right, this is the leader of the people. He's the evil paladin. I made some stats. And they became a major NPC because the player characters got mad because they kind of got their butts kicked and, and treated badly. And also they stole that minor magic item. And, you can tell that story. And what happens is people go, oh, I want to create that for my campaign. But the thing is, every campaign can't be that, right? It has to happen naturally. It has to feel right. And the only way that happens is if your campaign feels more like real life, and thus relationships become more important than items. The game is not about going to get the magic hammer to kill the final big boss after you killed 7 minor bosses. The game is about a group of people who have chosen to take the life of adventuring for whatever reason, and through that, they're meeting people, they're engaging with people, they're learning about different societies, they're learning about themselves, and they grow and change. And I've talked about this in other videos too. And I think that's the real power of the game. That's the power of the RPG. So yeah, this is more kind of off the cuff philosophical, I guess, but I thought it was a great little comment. I wrote it down in my book because I felt very proud, and I thought that's great. I'm achieving what I want to achieve, which is exactly that. The game is not about even just going into a dungeon and gaining treasure. The game is about relationships they're building with people in the world. And yes, they get treasure. And yes, they fight big monsters. But that's not what the game feels like it's about. So I would love to know what you think about this. Do you play for kind of more of a feel that the world could be real? Do you build lots of relationships, or do your players build relationships? Or do you just prefer go get the MacGuffin, which is also fine? I'd love to know what you think. Let me know in the comments below. Check the description for a link to my Discord server and also my Patreon. I'll talk to you soon.